Welcome to Cheap Shot News. This is episode some number after 10. Feel like I'm just going to stop keeping track at this point in time. Feel like other news outlets, because I'm a news outlet, keep track of their information. Anyways, moving on. I'm sorry. I'm kind of tired, so we're just going to get through this. Not going to lie to you guys. Sometimes I get tired because I'm human. So let's get started with our weekly Deadpool news. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I cannot stop talking about it. And if you ever watch this, I'm sorry, man. I know you hate Deadpool for some reason because I don't know. You're not a human being with the emotional capacity for humor, I guess. Anyways, I'm going to stop bashing on you now because I just feel bad about it. But there's always something interesting in regards to Deadpool. This last week, the biggest thing that was interesting, sorry, bumping mics here. Maybe you should actually talk into it instead of touching it and stuff. Biggest news from what I saw or heard or read, whatever, however you want to detail that, is something that actually came out last Wednesday. I think that was like the 28th. Anyways, doesn't matter. There was the report by The Wrap, which is a website that does reporting on news and movie things, that basically what had been said is there was speculation that there was going to be basically Deadpool was going to appear in the new Logan movie as like an end credit scene, and it was going to be directed by the director of Deadpool 2. So this was reported, everyone got super excited, including myself, because if you are a comic book nerd like me, I think you probably also feel that putting Deadpool and Wolverine together in their true unabashed form, not the Deadpool and Wolverine that we saw in X-Men Origins because they were both crap, but the good versions of both of those characters would be amazing to see. Now, almost immediately after this was published, pretty much everyone involved came out and like, nope, it's a lie. That did not happen. James Mangold, the director of Logan, said it. Then Ryan Reynolds came out and said it. And then Hugh Jackman basically just verified what Reynolds and Mangold both said is, no, that is in fact not true. Deadpool is not going to make an appearance in the new Logan movie. Now, this was interesting to me. Not only, obviously, it sparks my interest because of that speculation of like, oh, really, are we going to see that? But how quickly they came out and denied it. Now, from my experience in Hollywood and movies and television, things like that, where there's smoke, there typically is some sort of fire. I mean, that just seems to reason. That's why it's a good metaphor. So in this instance, I'm not saying that necessarily what they're saying is a lie, that Deadpool is not indeed in the movie, but I think this just emphasizes some rumblings that we've seen previously. Reynolds has talked extensively about how he would like Jackman to continue his Wolverine role and then do a movie with Deadpool, or crossover into a Deadpool movie, or do even just a cameo, just something. Reynolds wants Hugh Jackman to continue Wolverine for a little bit here so they can cross them over with Deadpool. Even Reynolds discussed this even further in a very recent article with Variety, where he said basically, yes, I'm still pursuing this. This is something that I want to be done, and I'm relying on the fans to kind of help with encouraging Hugh Jackman to continue on in this role. And what I found really interesting about that is Hugh Jackman was actually quoted in that article as well, is he's not really denying it. He's saying, it's pretty, I'm not, yeah, words are hard. He basically said that it might not be the correct time, but he doesn't say no, that it definitely won't happen. And leaving the door open for something like that is a big deal. So after stumbling through words and sentences and phrases and just humanity in general, we get to this point in time of reading these articles, hearing the hype, hearing the speculation. I feel like something is going on. Now, like I said, it may not be that Deadpool is going to make an appearance in Logan. The timelines really don't match up, so they would kind of have to throw a wrench into the timeline. Although Deadpool does have the same or similar healing factor as Wolverine, so he would be able to live significantly longer as well. So that is plausible, but I just don't think that's going to happen. But I do think there's something here. I think there's something more here, and this is something I'm going to be paying attention a lot more to in the near future. Now, to our next topic. This really isn't so much news as I just find it intriguing. So it is movie related. Recently, Matthew McConaughey was interviewed. I can't remember by who, but he talked about his interest in the Dark Tower movie and why he took that role when he was actually offered a role as well in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, the big reason why he turned down the role of Guardians Volume 2 and took the role in the Dark Tower is what he broke down as saying, like, Guardians of the Galaxy is already established franchise. I feel like I would just be kind of an amendment onto that and kind of have a secondary or supporting role. It wouldn't really focus on me. There wouldn't be a lot much creatively to do there. And so why bother with it, essentially? And I actually find this extremely honorable from Hollywood, just Hollywood actors, directors who typically aren't super honorable. They take the easy way out. A lot of times actors, producers, directors, studios in general take the easy way out, easy money, instead of doing what is actually creative and interesting. That's why I did an article recently on my top 20 most anticipated movies of 2017, and there is not a single movie on there that's a completely original idea. The one that comes closest, I would say, is Dunkirk, and that's not really an original script. It will, quote unquote, be an original script by Christopher Nolan, but it's based off of true events, so it's not like an idea from scratch that was developed into something. Seriously, it's kind of depressing when I look at that list, and I'm super excited about several of those movies, but we're talking about more superhero movies, another Alien movie, just on and on down the list of not necessarily reboots, but sequels, prequels, movies that are based off of books, comic books, what have you. So I kind of got off track there. So Dark Tower is actually one of these movies, but again, it's based off of Stephen King novel. That being said, Matthew McConaughey, what he's able to do with the character of the Man in Black is he's basically able to take it off the page a little bit, but pretty much develop it how he would like, through himself, through his character development from not from scratch necessarily, but from lower level on the totem pole and bring that off the page himself, instead of just kind of being a side character in a movie that's already got its primary characters developed and just being, supplemental at that point in time. So I really appreciate him for that and what he's doing. I'm really excited about that movie. I'm really surprised that we have not seen a trailer yet when it's only about 6 months out, not even, I would say. At this point in time, I think it's coming out in May, so about 5-6 months out. So really excited about that. Just really happy of him going into detail of having creative control over a character and not just taking a quick, easy out, making some quick buck, and then moving on. The Dark Tower could realistically become a long, drawn-out franchise, and for him to put that kind of effort into it is very encouraging to me. So, something that is significantly less encouraging to me is the next thing on my list. Ben Affleck directing The Batman. Now, just based off of that phrase, you might see, how is that not encouraging? Well, Ben Affleck directing The Batman would be super encouraging, but apparently he's not as sold on the idea of directing as the rest of the world was. So one of the bosses at Warner Brothers stated last year that Ben Affleck will be directing the Batman movie. But then it came out recently in an interview that Ben Affleck stated directly, if it doesn't come together in a way that I think is really great, I'm not going to do it. Now, this is the part that's discouraging to me. The reason being, as have you seen DC movies recently? I have. I've seen all of the DC movies recently. I have seen, Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, Batman versus Superman. And I don't have a ton of great things to say about any of those movies. Now, I think I don't really have much of an opinion on this in regards to Suicide Squad. I think Batman versus Superman got a lot more hate than it deserved. But that being said, it is not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination in regards to pretty much all aspects: story, character development, acting. Batman was really good, but just how they introduced other characters and different things like that, I think they did a poor job on. So, us getting a good or a Batman movie is about as far away as us getting a good video game movie. Little jab at Assassin's Creed there. Haven't actually seen it yet, but according to fan reaction and critic reaction, it's not very good. So, basically, how does this get resolved? This could go in a few different directions. Maybe this is the poor direction of Ben Affleck's really just not going to be attached to crap production any longer. Or maybe this is a backhanded remark by him of telling Warner and DC to sort your freaking life out and let's do something good. Let's not just throw something together and be like, you know what? I don't care. It's going to make $1 billion worldwide anyways. We don't need to make a good movie. That's a way to ruin a brand. And if you don't care about ruining your brand, then I don't know what to tell you. You probably shouldn't be in business anymore, because that's going to affect sales in plenty other areas, including comic books, which is where you started. So I think they should take that in consideration. Like I said, maybe it is Ben Affleck's way of like, hey, I'm not going to be attached to this if you guys aren't willing to work at it. Now, if you're willing to work at it and give me control and not have oversight and constantly be looking over my shoulder, great. If you're not willing to do that, I'm not willing to direct. That being said, we're not saying that that movie's not being made. From what I understand, there's been no speculation that that movie is actually being put on hold right now. It's just whether or not Ben Affleck decides that he wants to direct it is where it's going. So next topic is Doctor Strange is going to make an appearance in Thor Ragnarok. Now, this was something that I think we pretty much all as fans speculated, and then Disney announced at D23 that all of our speculation was correct, is what it comes down to. So yes, he is going to be making an appearance in Thor Ragnarok with the statement from Disney. Thor Ragnarok in November brings together Thor, the Hulk, and Doctor Strange to face off against intergalactic baddies, both familiar and new. I like that they use the phrase baddies. That's something that I hear Mike Gibson talk about a lot, but it's something that you typically don't see in a press release or a format like that. Now, there's been a lot of speculation on how big his role is going to be. Most people seem to think that it's going to be fairly minimal, just a cameo status. And I disagree for a couple of reasons. First off, based on what they say in this announcement of it brings together Thor, the Hulk, and Doctor Strange, I feel like you wouldn't put Doctor Strange on the same level as Thor and Hulk, even though he is a name that will draw attention. That's where a lot of people are going to get back at me and be like, no, he's a name that draws attention, so you're going to put him up there. And I agree with that statement, but at the same time, you don't do that for cameo status. We've seen Marvel do this a dozen times now, they'll throw in a quick cameo of somebody that they didn't really announce beforehand, or at least I didn't know about it beforehand. Natasha Romanoff and Iron Man 2 and all these other characters that showed up for a second. I can't remember. I don't even, did they announce that Thanos was going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy? Because I don't think they did. I mean, they could have announced that. I don't think they do this stuff just for hype purposes, though. I think there's deeper meaning behind it. The second reason, I think, is Thor has historically been one of the weaker brands in the Marvel Universe, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think they're realizing that at this point in time, they need to start bringing together more people in the movies with these characters that we've seen several times. You know, this will be the third time that we've seen Thor. The third time we've seen Thor in his own standalone, and I think fifth overall. Like the fourth time we've seen the Hulk. You gotta freshen it up a bit with some of these characters. I think they're kind of realizing we're not really gonna be satisfied unless there's a handful of characters together in these movies, such as Civil War, which was Avengers 3. Basically, you have to put a few different characters to make it interesting. So I do think he's gonna have a bigger role. I'm not gonna say major role, but I do think he is around and he's talked about throughout the movie. So, I mean, if you think I'm totally wrong in that, but I just think it would be a missed opportunity not to have him play a bigger role in that movie, just because you have kind of the mystical aspects of Thor and then Doctor Strange. Loki's going to be in it. There's a lot of other characters, good characters, and good new characters that are going to be in it as well. I just think you wouldn't announce it this way and tease at the end of Doctor Strange the way you did unless he was going to be involved in it semi-heavily. So the final topic I'm going to get to today is something that kind of got Star Wars nerds all cranky. That's not a good word. Come on, Zach. You can come up with something better with that. Upset. I'm not good with synonyms right now. Synonyms right now. Like I said, it's getting late. Whew. Just one more topic, Zach. You can make it through. All right, Star Wars people got a little upset about, and this honestly didn't faze me at all because I really didn't know one way or another, but the Han Solo movie release date has been changed. It was changed from May of 2018 to now December of 2018. Now, apparently I was the only one that was under the assumption that it would come out in December because it was semi-big news for like 2 days of, oh my gosh, they're changing it. If you're realistically surprised by that, you shouldn't be. They changed Rogue One back 6 months. They've always had the trilogy series 7, 8, 9 listed out on December dates, but the other solo movies, including the solo movie, have been summer releases. But they changed Rogue One. Now they're changing this. There's a lot of reasons behind this, from what I understand, is Disney has so many properties now that they're really trying desperately not to compete against themselves. So, what is it? The movie that I just talked about, Avengers Infinity War, is coming out in May of 2018, a few weeks earlier than what Han Solo was originally scheduled for. Now, you want to play the long tail game and let that bleed out for like 2 months until literally no one shows up anymore because everyone has seen it at least twice. So you want to let that kind of simmer down, and you don't want to cut off potential multiple viewerships 2 weeks later because of a Han Solo movie. And so that's honestly probably the biggest reason. And secondly, just Star Wars is becoming a Christmas tradition now. So maybe eventually we'll start seeing multiple Star Wars movies every year like we do see Marvel movies now. But I feel like that's a ways off, and that's when they're going to start expanding more beyond the characters and the storylines that we're familiar with. I truly believe 100% that Disney is going to milk Marvel and Star Wars completely dry until they can no longer make money off of them. It's kind of sad to think about that, but I also think it's true. I mean, I can't remember. I think we just entered phase 3 of Marvel, and they're already planning phase 4. and they have movie dates set out that we don't even have the details on the characters, and we're getting into relatively unknown superheroes at this point in time, but they're going to continue to do it, and I believe they can continue to make solid movies with doing that. It'll be interesting to see how it moves forward. Now, Star Wars is another beast, because if you're familiar with the Star Wars series, the Legends series, or basically the expanded Star Wars universe that's no longer canon, they are saying that's no longer canon, but they are pulling bits and pieces from there. And there are literally hundreds of books written about Star Wars. I mean, this is almost endless source material, and it's an entire galaxy. And you can go in the past, you can go into the future, you can do whatever you want with it. So we're talking about almost endless source material. So eventually we're going to get away from the characters that we grew up with, at least my age and the generation older than me, what we grew up with, and we're going to get into completely new characters and storylines. I've continued to say I want an Old Republic epic Jedi versus Sith battles. That's what I want to see. So eventually they'll get to that point in time, and I think at that point in time we will start to see multiple movies at the same time, or not at the same time, but in a single year. Wow, that was a long walk for that topic. But anyways, you got what I'm saying. Eventually, I think when we expand into those characters, into those storylines, we'll start seeing more movies in a single year. But until then, we'll probably only see one Star Wars movie a year for the foreseeable future, at least from what I can tell, at least until we end the current trilogy, as I would say. So again, that was a pretty long conversation in regards to one small topic that I wanted to get to. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for me. Again, I am Zach. This is Cheap Shot News. If you like what you see here, you like my other videos, please like and subscribe. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cheap Shot Cinema. And you can also find additional content, written and video, at cheapshotcinema.com. So again, Cheap Shot Cinema is the big brand, and then this is Cheap Shot News. Thank you for stopping by, and you guys have a great evening. Bye.